Hello. We are back for Huset's Nights. We got a special edition of the show this week of the Knoxville Nights podcast. I'm Josh Gerlach. I'm here with Kate Higday and Blake Walker. We're going to recap the Huset's High Bank Nationals, Huset's Hustle, all that stuff.
Knoxville Raceway. Auto Huset's High Bank National presented by Menard.
Nailed it. Knoxville Raceway was off if you didn't know.
Good.
Yeah, I clearly practiced that. So, yeah, like I said, we're going to break down everything that happened at Huset's this past week. Kyle Larson grabbed the first race, and then it was pretty much the Buddy and Balog show from there. So we'll dive into that. No guest this week. It was way too hot and way too late to try to get guys to talk after the races up there. So you're just going to be stuck with us three. Might be a little bit shorter than what we've been doing, which might make some people happy, I guess.
Yorkie.
But first off, make sure you're following and subscribing wherever you get your podcasts. We're at Knoxville Nights, also on Facebook and Instagram at Knoxville Nights. On Twitter, X, we're at Knoxville Nights with no O. Click like and subscribe. It'll help us out. Yeah, so we'll just dive right into it, guys, and we'll get the biggest talking point or talking points out of the way. Twitter and everything was ablaze with talking about the format, talking about the track surface, and I'll just rip the Band-Aid off here. What did you guys think of it? And did you think that the way things were set up, did it penalize the guys that were fast too much?
Yeah, I would say the way that it all shook out, yes. Like ideally with a track that doesn't have 100 degrees on it every single day and 40 some mile an hour winds. That makes it a little bit tougher to keep the track good, especially when you have 4 nights of racing to try to save it and not have everybody race on rubber. As far as like the format goes, the way the track ended up being, yes, it definitely penalizes the fast guys too much, but you got to try something to make it interesting, and it definitely did to an extent. Like we were talking before the show, you pretty much saw the same 2 guys aside from Larson the first night duking it out, and that was just kind of how it went.
I think the biggest point was that Rico Abreu goes quick time twice in 4 days and doesn't get out of the B main 3 of the 4 nights. And the 2 nights that he went quick time, buried in the B main. And I think, track surface is a lot of it. And, we talk about track surface here in a second, but there was just times where the track surface for the heat races just wasn't quite there to allow passing. And on night number 1, a lot of the drivers were very vocal about that. And I know Zach Hampton was vocal about it. The invert was obviously a big part of it, that, it inverts the field and, who makes it, who doesn't make it. But if you can't pass, like you physically can't pass, if you go back to 6th, you're stuck. Unless you get a wreck. And somebody benefited big off a wreck. And that was kind of like the glaring, oh gosh, like, okay, something's up. I'm curious your guys' thoughts. Maybe keep the format that we saw all week for the hustle, but do we want to maybe change around what we see for the actual big high bank nationals? Because I think the format's fine if you get a good track for it. We saw that on Thursday night when the track was pretty solid. Now, granted, that was already a continuation of the format from the night before, but I think you almost just need 2 formats.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to change from having the 2 and 2, having the hustle and then the high bank nationals. I don't see that changing. You could argue that like a 3-day show would almost be best, where you have 2 prelims and then a finale, because I truly don't think that the format is all that bad. It's just like you guys were saying, the track surface, it just drives everything, because it's a short track, it's a tight track, and if you have a fast track like we saw, especially on Saturday night, like it did not matter how fast your car was, you just literally couldn't go too wide. And it is not for a lack of trying from the track prep crew. Hell, we saw Todd Queering out there driving the maintainer around. That actually surprised me. I didn't know that he did that. And they worked their ass off. And I would say kudos. We didn't really see hardly any rubber. I think maybe was it like Wednesday or Thursday where it started to take it just a little bit.
Top.
Yeah, Thursday it did just
very
a little bit.
Tiny bit.
Yep. And we didn't see it the rest of the weekend. And like, Cade, you can speak from a team and driver perspective. When you're just going through a tire a race like that, nobody wins with that, and you're gonna have a ton of pissed off guys in the the pits, you'd probably rather lean to the wet, heavy side than to just be, freaking racing on asphalt out there. And then on top of it, like you also said, it was 105 plus degrees with 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts and no clouds. So to have it even to a point on Saturday night where it was too heavy and they had to run it in some more, I think was actually a feat in and of itself. It sucked that it delayed things, but I think that they were kind of dealt a shitty hand weather-wise and did about the best they could.
Yeah, and it's just way too easy to get on social media and dog on people that are obviously working their ass off. And like you said, it's a feat in itself to actually have the track be too wet. I definitely didn't expect that, but yeah, it's definitely not for lack of effort, like you said. And I feel like people need to kind of understand that it's a lot more than just what you do at the racetrack that week. There's a lot that leads up to it, and with that high heat and high wind, and like you said, no clouds, they just had no choice but to basically try to have it be way too heavy.
Well, and I think just talking about Saturday night, exclude the racing or like drivers. We'll talk about that later, but they 100+ degree heat, and like you said, Cade, the winds and everything else, they roll out for hot laps, and there's just water. I mean, there's just water, puddled up water on the bottom, and it's just not raceable. So then they take 45 minutes and they rework the whole track and they push down it with all the push trucks. And then unfortunately, the heat races are all single file. I mean, I think Kerry was our biggest mover in most important positions. Kerry went from third to second, and that was like the biggest move of the whole night. Everybody just kind of sat in line. The C's were like that. The LCS was just kind of like that. The feature kind of widened out a little bit, but there's just, for the people that went after Huset's, they're like, a lot of all the things I kept seeing were, man, it's your biggest night of the year. Like, how does this not go right? Like, how does this not work out in your favor? We got to give Huset's some benefit of the doubt. I mean, we just have to, because it is rarely, how how many 100+ degree days we get in the summer? Like, yes, Midwest summers are hot, but they're not that hot. Like, for Josh was there for 2 days. I was there for 1 day. It was hot, man. Yeah. Like, it was dangerously hot. And no track surface, mud, dirt no matter how much water you put on it, they overcompensated is what they did. But how are they supposed to know? Because how many 100-degree track days have they prepped for?
And especially with that many race cars.
Yeah, it's dirt racing. Like, I mean, the track surface is one of the biggest variables that you have just by nature. And, I mean, when you're putting up I don't even know, it's probably close to $1 million, if not that, they want to have a great race. And I don't want us to sound like we're just Huset's apologists here, because we were disappointed in the product that we saw, but again, it still ended up, we'll get to it in our breakdowns. We still had plenty of movers each night, right. And it was still good racing. And I saw some comments about the streams also, and sometimes maybe you didn't see some of those battles. I don't know. Yeah. Like you said, you gotta, on the same side, if it was rubbered up every single night, people would be complaining about that too. And, Huset's can't win really in that situation unless it's absolutely perfect, which how often does that happen?
And it's worth noting, we should have known on Wednesday night, like, they worked that track. They did not care how many times they worked the track. They were going to keep working the track until it was fit. Huset's, in my opinion, this week, and Todd and that whole staff proved, we're not going to let this thing, yes, the racing might struggle in dirt-wise single lane, but we're not going to let this thing rubber up. I think they put that precedent out on Wednesday night when they just kept fixing it. And you and I thought, Josh, even last night, maybe before the feature, it's like, man, I don't know if they had to kick it down or, kind of knock down the berm, do whatever they did. But clearly in their mind, I feel like they were always thinking, don't rubber up. We can't let this thing rubber up. We got to at least give them something that's not just going to be single file rubber-wise.
Because, Kate, if it was a rubber racetrack and you're going through, let's say, if you are rubbering up in a heat race, how many rear tires do you think you would go through? Say if it's 3 out of the 4 nights. And like, tell fit for fans at home, how much is just a set of rear tires?
It's over $700. I think when I buy them week to week, it's like $730. And
for 2,
we actually, for a set of rears, the left rear and the right rear are the same price too, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense in my opinion. You get a lot less rubber on the left rear, but that's besides the point. but yeah, we just had another tire increase too. So yeah, I mean, you'd be burning off over $1,500 in tires just between the heat race and the feature, and that's not even including the two fronts that you're going to burn up basically every other night, or if you're lucky, every other night. Otherwise, those go every night too.
And I mean, how much does the winner of a pro sprint race make at Knoxville in one night? $800. Like,
Yeah.
pay for a tire. I mean, that's just like the drivers care, and it's always should be. I'm glad like Huset's did this week. It should be in the track's best interest. Keep that thing from rubbering up.
Absolutely.
It saves a lot of people money.
Yep. And we've hammered on this a lot. I understand for sure. And like just trying to explain that because racing is not cheap and it gets more expensive the more that you're laying rubber and stuff. So yeah, overall, I think we still had 4 great nights of racing, you know, throughout the entire field. And I will get to it here in a moment as well. I think it's great what Todd and Husets are doing, trying to build up another big event. And for the teams and drivers to race for huge money like that, it's crazy. Like Saturday night was the largest to win, like the amount to win in what, World of Outlaws history, I think it was, maybe outside of the million if they count that. I don't know. Yep. But definitely for this year. So it's cool. I hopefully they keep pushing to make it bigger and better every year.
Yeah, I think it'll just keep growing. I mean, you have it here. It's definitely gaining momentum. People
and
are
the crowd
showing
showed
up.
up.
Yeah, the crowd,
yeah, exactly.
The crowd was phenomenal. I mean, it's like Knoxville when you sit up underneath the grandstands. The broadcast, first of all, the crowd sits in pretty much darkness. I mean, I think maybe if I had one improvement to Knoxville, maybe give the crowd a little bit more light, so that way when you're chewing on some nachos, you actually know what you're putting your fingers into instead of the cheese, whatever. But you never know. Some people might have that issue. I
don't need that visual. I don't need that visual.
I'm just trying to think. Obviously, I wasn't in the stands, but you just never know for some people.
Because you texted us, Kate, or you texted me. I can't remember. You were like, "Is anybody there?" And I was like, "Hell yeah!"
Yeah, it was during a break too, though. It was during a break too.
Yeah, it was cool. Obviously, it was my first time there. I just wanted to give my quick first impressions just from being there. It's awesome. It's a phenomenal facility. Again, what Todd and them have done is so cool. The parking situation is great, like really good. I think they did kind of overflow, so there were people kind of parking across the street. But the actual venue and stuff was great. Because we were on the media side, Josh and I never went past the front gate to kind of see all that. I think I have to go back to at least see that part, not be in the infield, but at least see that part just for a weekly show or something like that. The pits were cool. I mean, just being back to back, we are so spoiled at Knoxville. Like, that's just kind of how it is. And in my opinion, Knoxville is just the top of the top. But I still feel like with the room they are given and everything else, infield was cool. It was cool being that close. I mean, it was kind of scary at a couple points. You're like, oh God, somebody flips over the berm, we might not make it. But no, it was fine. It was fine for me, and I really enjoyed it. And the big game shop is crazy. That's you don't realize how nice that building is for David Gravel until you drive past it. My service worked fine all night. Thank you very much.
Lucky.
I don't know how my service worked all night, but no, it was cool. It was an awesome event. The 2 video boards on the backstretch actually worked pretty well because one video board had the video, one video board had the results or like the timing and whatnot. So I thought that worked out great. The fireworks were a little crazy at the end. I couldn't really hear anything Buddy was saying because the fireworks were going off like crazy. But that was still cool. And yeah, it's like you said, Josh. I mean, the event is gaining momentum. They're going to do something cool every year. We'll talk about it on Saturday night when we get to it. But they had the flyover, which was a big hit. Mm-hmm. It's just cool. It's a great event, and I hope they just keep picking it up.
Well said. Really
cool. And then we just wanted to throw it in here. Buddy Kofoid, obviously the winner. We'll talk about it in a little bit. But Buddy has now won $418,000 since his win at Eagle just a couple weeks ago. Buddy Kofoid is on a different level right now, getting hot at the right time, if you will say. And these are the big paying money races. And I think I saw a tweet. He's not phased. Like he doesn't get nervous. He just buckles down and had a really good moment with his parents in Victory Lane. And he kept this year's Victory Lane interview a little bit more PG because he said he was going to do that at the Hustle after last year when he gets out of the car. Just goes crazy. But, yeah, it was a good week. So Why don't we talk about it? We've been alluding to it all week. Let's talk about what we saw all week. Wednesday night was the first night of the Huset's Hustle, prelim night 1 of 2. We'll just start out with, I don't know why we put the winner first, but we'll talk about Larson here in a second. But we had a massive wreck, the biggest wreck of the week, really, on the front stretch. Riley Goodnow, Ian Madsen, Austin McCarl, they got in a huge wreck on the front straightaway. Goodnow kind of came off the wall. Ian Madsen was there. Austin McCarl was there and just took nasty tumbles down the front stretch. The wall, Josh, all week got people. I mean, like Garrett Williamson, I think hit it 15 times. I'm not really sure, but he could not stay off that wall off turn 4. But the weird part of it was I was busy doing a baseball game or something. And I looked down and Kerry Madsen is fired up. Like he is very mad at Riley Goodnow. And I thought Kerry was in the wreck. He was not in the wreck. He's just looking out for his brother Ian. But scary wreck on the front straightaway. And at Huset, it's just a narrow tunnel pretty much. So if you wreck, there's nowhere to go.
Yeah, and that was just like a big parking lot, and a lot of shit got tore up. And I mean, I understand why Kerry was mad at the time. Like it definitely was all Riley's fault, but it wasn't like it was intentional. Like he tried chopping somebody or anything crazy like that. But yeah, definitely, like you said, scary, and a lot of stuff got tore up really quick.
And seeing the result of, because Ian took some hits, it was good to see him pop out of there pretty quickly. I'm guessing that's probably what had Kerry so fired up, like you said, seeing your brother go for a ride like that. Not very happy about it.
Austin kind of struggled on speed the rest of the week. Clearly, that was a very good car of theirs.
And they skipped Thursday also.
Yeah, they did skip Thursday. So just a tough break for those 3 guys, and good to see them get out just fine, but nasty wreck on the front straightaway. We talked about the heat race track surface for Wednesday. Just it wasn't quite what people wanted it to be. Everyone was just kind of stuck. The big one was Spencer Bayston. Started 6th in that heat race that we just talked about with the wreck, and he missed it. Got all the way up to 2nd. Well, guess what? That's about as good a points night as anyone got, especially on the track surface that we got. So Spencer Bayston started on the front row. Unfortunately, could not get it at the end. But, I mean, yes, the rest of the week wasn't great for Spencer Bayston. But, Cade, even just small races like that for a guy like Spencer who has not won in a long time, it's like, that's a win. I mean, yes, did everything fall in your lap? Yes, but you're not going to complain about that.
Yeah, and he actually, there at the end of the race, had a good shot to get Kyle back, and that's got to be a huge confidence boost for them. Like you said, it's kind of been a strugglesome year for them, which is totally different from what Corey Day had in that car last year. So yeah, they definitely had a big pickup after that night, and honestly, I thought he was going to win that race, and it was damn close coming to the end, and that was cool to see that. Like you said, it kind of fell in his lap, but he definitely made the best out of. Yeah, he made the best out of what he had going there.
That's where I was going to go with it too. Like it doesn't matter if everything falls into your lap.
Right.
If you can't pounce on it or capitalize, like it really doesn't mean anything. And it's really weird because we've seen speed out of Spencer in many different cars, and it goes to show that you can maybe just jump into a team or car that's had a lot of success, but that doesn't mean that it's going to translate immediately. And we talked with a few different guys at this point on the show that you just need time sometimes to gel and come together. And mentioned it wasn't probably their best ending to the week, but that's something that you can at least, when you are struggling, you have that success, you have to put that in the back of your mind for when things are a struggle still.
Kyle Larson did come away with the win. He was only going to race 2 nights. That was the original plan anyway. Cade didn't know that when he picked him, but I think Kyle easily would have been top 5 all week. The way the speed was shown on Wednesday night, they qualified well. Kyle Larson was just really, really good. It was kind of weird. He got to lap traffic and ran the bottom, and he just wasn't ripping the top, and he never adjusted. Spencer, like you were saying, Cade, I mean, 1 or 2 more laps, Spencer probably would have gotten him. Kyle just didn't run the top, but he was able to hold off for the win. So good win for Kyle Larson, just kind of getting back rolling. It has not been a good couple weeks for Kyle, and he even said that. So he's like, good to just finally get a little bit momentum back on their side. It's a scary thought because this is usually when Larson, he'll go on that dry spell, and then midway through the summer, him and Paul find something, and then they're gone. And then Nationals show up, and they just kick everybody's butt. But Tanner Thorson went from 19th to 8th. Good run for Tanner all week. We'll talk
Remember
about
that
that
name.
at the end. Yeah, Tanner was good all week. A lot of guys had really good weeks. Some guys had weeks that, they're going to want to put behind them. Brad Sweet was moving 21 to 11. Carson Macedo 24 to 16th. So good night for those guys. Just to kind of set everything up for Thursday night. So the way things worked is where you finished, then it kind of put you in heat races for the next night. They took the top 3 from those heat races. So thankfully, guys, the heat racing was unbelievable on Thursday night. Like, the track was perfect, and we had unbelievable just back and forth action.
I think if they could have done it, perfect every night, that's what they would have wanted to have, for the heat races, because it was wide. You had 2 lanes, great racing, and we've hammered the track surface to death for sure. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like that, I think that was the best heat racing by far that we had all week.
Yeah, it was badass. It reminded me of Eagle, the way it was slicked up like that up against the fence, and you had guys running the bottom and throwing bombs. It was fun to watch.
So Balog finished 7th on Wednesday night. He had a really good heat race, and I think that really set up his entire week. Granted, Thursday was different than Friday and Saturday, but I think that's when people were like, okay, Bill's got something here for this week. They do the King of the Hill format. We'll talk about King of the Hill in a little bit, but Balog actually beat Larson for the King of the Hill, so Bill started on the front row. I think that kind of caught a couple people surprised. Again, we'll talk about it in a little bit, but different fuel and whatnot. It was good to see Bill do that. But Huset's Hustle night, Logan Schuhart missed the feature. They were really struggling. They got it figured out the last 2 nights, the nights that paid also really good money. So they figured out when it counts. Brady Bacon missed the feature. Mark Dobmeyer did not have a good week. Just didn't expect that from Mark Dobmeyer, who has been so good at Huset's in the past. Christopher Traum did rebound later in the week, but he also missed the feature there. And then the Huset's Hustle turned out just to be a brawl. Bill Balog led early, was able to stay out front. Car looked great. And then he caught lap traffic, and that kind of put him behind the 8 ball. Buddy Kofoid was able to sneak around in lap traffic and holds on for $100,000. I put it here, and I made these notes on Thursday night. I put under Buddy Kofoid's got Huset's figured out, and clearly he has. It's just his track, Cade. It's just there's just something about bull rings like Eagle and Huset. Buddy's got something, and it's just crazy. Is it that midget racing? Do you think that's what it is? Like the success in a midget that just kind of feeds to it?
It's about got to be, because he's not like an overly aggressive guy. Like, he's not 4 wheels above the cushion like we would see Corey Day do at some places. He's just kind of quietly super good. It's not like he's doing anything super out of the ordinary. Like, he runs a very smart and consistent race, but it's just like bull rings, he's fast as hell.
You put it perfectly. He's got it figured out. He should have won 3 of these now.
Yeah,
had the motor not. Had the motor not blown up a couple of years ago or whatever it was. Yeah, he's just taking all of Todd's money at this point from Huset's, and it's impressive, man. It kind of I remember when like McCarl was just dominant when we were growing up, and kind of feels that same way. Like he probably loves seeing that purse going up and up and up. Already licking his chops to get back there next year.
Free money.
Yeah, Todd's gonna make him put a Huset Speedway sticker on there here before too long.
He's gonna put a bounty on him.
That's right.
Yeah. That'd be something. Put a bounty on him, and then you're gonna have a couple guys go. We didn't put it on here. Christopher Bell was also there the 2 nights, and it just not great. Made the feature both nights, but just wasn't anything too wild. Obviously, I don't think Bell's raced at Houston very often, and Kreitz doesn't really go out there. That Kreitz 69K just doesn't go out there a ton, but good to see C-Bell out there at least. Kyle Larson, as Connor Wade put it, threw a Hail Mary from Pocono in the final corner, and somehow highway robbery took 3rd away from David Gravel. So Larson goes finishes 1st and 3rd in the 2 Houston prelim nights, so a good money week. Rico Abreu, in his only feature of the week, goes 16th to 10th. That's crazy, man. 21st to 15th is Sheldon Hodenshield. Both went +6. Sheldon got better as the week went on. Tanner Thorson, again, 18th to 13th, +5. Again, they got to get qualifying figured out. Let's chat Rico just real quick. Not a good week. I'm sure there was a lot of momentum rolling into this week. Obviously, him and Ricky Warner went on that big tear where they had won like 8 straight weeks with a win, or gone 8 straight weeks with a win. Brought on Kubota just as a sponsor, and that was big. Obviously, the whiskey car wasn't a thing this week. It was this nice black and orange car. And we talked about the format, boys, but Rico kind of got by the format, and I feel like he just never really got a chance, and you could tell he was frustrated because they've been so fast, and no, they weren't trying things this week, Josh. But I mean, it's like, dang, man, that just stinks.
I mean, you saw it. He was really fast, of course, quick times a couple times, and you saw the same thing even with our buddy Caleb. You know, points leader up at Huset's Weekly. Like they struggled as well and got set back from a bad qualifying effort. I mean, it's the same for everybody. Also, you know, I know that they're not going to make any excuses, that they're just going to say that the car's got to be
never
better.
Went out and publicly said anything about the track. He just put his head down and accepted it.
Yeah, and he may. It's tough when you got these back to back nights. Remember which was which, but I know he did have a mistake in one of the heat races that really cost him, and you can't pin everything on that one move. But it's I mean it's not a points race. Obviously, it was a World of Outlaws sanctioned deal, so it's not going to affect him at all in the high limit race or 2 championship races that he's in. But yeah, expected to see more out of him this week, I think.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it too is just not really having any time to regroup. You know, like you go get your ass kicked one weekend, and you might suck for 2 nights, and then you got like the week to regroup before you go race again. And they didn't have that race in 4 nights back to back, and I'm sure his confidence wasn't really low. I mean, they proved they had speed, just kind of got stuck in the heat races and didn't capitalize on, if there was an opportunity, they didn't capitalize on it, and that kills you at that event.
It was probably the first week in a couple months that he hasn't won a race.
Yeah.
So I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine. But you want to see him get back to winning here eventually. Yeah. And I guarantee he'll be, as long as High Limit's not racing that 4th of July week, I guarantee he'll be right back in Knoxville when they can. Because obviously, if you remember, he wasn't bad, but he was just kind of pedestrian during the Outlaw shows here a couple weeks ago. So
yeah, good point.
Friday night was an unbelievable night, boys. Move over Santa Claus. There's a new famous resident, or the most famous resident of North Pole, Alaska. Bill Balog wins his 3rd career World of Outlaws race.
That's not what the notes say here that you wrote down, Blake.
I'm fired up after after that put down. Bill Balog, the North Pole Nightmare, wins his 3rd career World of Outlaws race. I'm a big Bill Balog fan.
Who isn't?
I mean,
anybody that's not a Balog fan doesn't like racing.
The whole crowd was crazy. I don't want to go this into bias, but I think Friday night was the best feature we saw all week.
I agree.
Garrett Williamson started on the front row. How about Garrett Williamson? We'll talk about Garrett on Saturday night here when we get to it. But Bill and Garrett were just going at it all race long, and Bill would pull away, and then Garrett would come back, and then they'd just slide each other for a little bit. Kofoid and Gravel could never get there. They just kind of kept putting around. They could never get it. Bill got through lap traffic just fine and was able to get away. This was just so cool to see. Obviously, it wasn't the big $100,000 or $250,000, but it's still good payday for Bill Balog. And I think if you didn't know this week, Cade, you know now. Bill is his own crew chief. Like, I don't think people realize this is a small operation. Like, this dude was an IRA guy for years, and then this is like his 2nd or 3rd year on the tour, and it's only his 2nd win in this new era of him being on the tour. He won at Talladega earlier this season, but I don't think people realize how big this weekend was for Bill. And Josh had that video, or maybe it was another person. His crew was just fired up. Even when they finished 2nd last night, they were so fired up. And the quote of the night was on Thursday night. Bill said, "This is about as fast as I can go." He's like, "This is it. I mean, I about as good as I can go," and we still got beat. And he goes out Friday night, and he's like, "Well, we made a couple gear adjustments." But it's awesome, Cade. It is so cool to see Bill Balog.
Yeah, and he's definitely doing it underfunded. I feel like that's pretty obvious when the dude gets out after running 2nd and says, like, "Yeah, my shit's tired, but
this motor's pretty old."
Pulled another worn out motor down, I think.
Yeah, he pulled that one out and put a different worn out one in there and went out and won, which was super cool. Like I said, anybody that is not a Bill Balog fan doesn't really understand the work that he puts into it and the resources that he has, because it's not like he's overly funded like some of these top end outlaw teams.
Being there, I don't know if it came through. through the Dirt Vision broadcast. But I had three crowd reactions that stood out to me most. You always have Rico, you almost always have Sheldon, and the third biggest pop that I heard all weekend was for Bill Balog, and it was so cool. And like you said, Blake, I think it was the Outlaws that posted one of them, like after he won, like seeing the reaction. I'm glad I didn't photobomb that, because I happened to walk right by it. It was pretty cool seeing that. The reaction that your peers have to you tells you everything you need to know about these guys. And when you have Garrett, who just got beat for whatever it was, $20,000, goes up there and gives him a big hug. Buddy
Right
goes
when he
up
gets
there
out of the car.
immediately. Yeah, right after they're out of the car, smiles all around. His crew guys and gals are jumping around, hugging each other. And Bill's big old smile on the top of the wing, like it's like, how do you not like love that shit? Like that's what makes sprint car racing so cool. We've talked about it all the time. Like the people that are involved with it are what make it. And Connor with Always Race Day, got a really good interview with him following Saturday night. Also, make sure you go check that out, because that, like you've mentioned, that was a big week for that team, and
Unbelievable.
it means
It's been
way
an
more than we could
unbelievable
probably put in words.
It has
Yeah.
been Connor and I were looking at it ever since the turn of the month in June, when they started that Wisconsin stretch with High Limit and the Outlaws.
Yeah.
Bill has been on it. I mean, they have been very good.
It was great at
very good
Knoxville.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was very good at Knoxville, and unfortunately got caught up in that wreck with Brown and Reitzel, and that kind of set his week back. But he's churning out good laps, and I still think he's got a couple more in him this year. I mean, I just feel like he's on a really good stretch. Again, also another good interview is Wade talked to him a couple weeks ago. I think just before this stretch was kicking into gear for
Yep.
June. Bill didn't race sprint cars. Like, Bill was a snowmobile racer. Like, he is just his story and how he's come up. We want him on badly. Like, Bill, if you're listening to this, Bill, please, we'd love to just chat with you. And our DMs are open. We know you read our DMs, so we know you're on it. We're not saying you left us on red, but we know we've seen some stuff. But we'd love to chat with Bill. And it's just awesome. It is so cool. And it's the whole week, it felt like that's one for the little guys. And it was awesome. Just so cool to see. He had speed all week. Sheldon again moved up. He went +8. Ryan Timms finally, as the week went on, I think Timms got more comfortable. He had a good run. Carson Macedo also went +8. We were talking about it. The track surface was great. Friday night was probably the best feature out of all of them. I don't
Wire
know
to
why.
wire also.
Yeah, it was. I think that's where Huset's is at its best. Like, even Saturday night when we had the cautions, especially the late green, white checkered, everyone's like, it's over. I mean,
Yeah.
like, you just
Get lost in traffic. Thursday night was also flag to flag. Had
Mhm.
back-to-back features.
Yeah. You know, you think about it, besides the wreck on the front stretch and then Brad's flip by himself on Saturday, everybody kept it clean for the most part. I think Polkeret got upside down and turned 2, but other than that,
Jai Corbett took a nasty ride after
Yes,
he did.
biking. I
Yeah.
think that was on Wednesday, maybe.
didn't get stuck on the light, but he almost got stuck on the pole that was a bad one.
Yeah, that was a
Did
tumble.
Did he race the rest of the week?
I don't think so. And what
I
car
don't-
was that, Blake?
That was the Eikenberry 25. And some say the Huckleberry 25.
Some say.
Yeah, I think Jai was. I don't know. Aaron Reitzel didn't stay.
He did
I know
not.
that was a little bit of talk. Aaron Reitzel did not stick around. So I know a couple people brought that up. But all right, then we move on to Saturday. Again, it was a hot day. I was pushing borderline heat exhaustion.
You were not alone.
Hydrated, but it was hot, Josh. I mean, people were doing everything they could to stay cool. The drivers really didn't come out of their haulers till when they needed to. No doubt. I mean,
I do want to shout out. It was cool. We brought up Garrett quite a few times here. I heard he was giving away waters to people at his merch trailer. That's a cool move, because got to take care of the fans, especially, didn't know it ahead of time that there was going to be almost an hour delay later in the night. So didn't hear too many stories about people getting stupid and, having heat stroke or heat exhaustion, which is good. Like we said, you got to be smart when the actual temp is over 105 degrees. You got to be smart.
we talked about it before. If the wind wasn't what it was, I don't think they would have raced.
It would have been tough.
A lot
too.
of tracks across the Midwest canceled because of the heat. But obviously, an event that big, you can't really do that. And they're probably thinking, dude, we flooded out last year. We can't heat out this year. But if you want to know how hot it was, go on social media. There are temps of like the roads in Sioux Falls buckling. I mean, just because the heat was so bad. It's about as
Thankfully,
bad
we
as
got some relief once the sun went down with the, I can't even call it a breeze, with the wind gusts that we had coming through
That's-
there.
that's
And once
the
the
other
sun was
thing.
down, it really wasn't that bad.
That's the other thing for Huset's, that the way they built that tall tower for the press box is perfect because the whole crowd never really was in the sun all night.
Yeah.
Even when we showed up at 5:30 and the sun was still quite in the air, because this was like the second longest day of the year, the whole crowd was in shade. So again, we can't speak on how it was down there or up there, but Cade, what's it like to drive in a 90+ degree heat?
I mean, it's always pretty hot.
In
And
general, yeah.
and what's your
it can-
hydration plan like going into a week like that?
Oh, you gotta definitely prepare ahead of time. Which I work outside, so I'm always pretty well.
Like we
staying-
talking Monday, Tuesday, kind of. You think some guys probably should have been taken into account?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like
Yeah.
it honestly should have started the weekend before, especially if they were racing the weekend before. But yeah, it's tough to keep fluids that you need in your body when you're sweating that hard. And like honestly, if it's 90 degrees or 85, like you don't really feel it that much more in the car. Like I said, it's always hot. You got the motor right in front of you, and it's always blowing heat back on you. And I mean, the cars are always hot, but you definitely like. A lot of times it feels like air conditioning when you get out of the car, and when it's 106 degrees, that's not the case.
And you've told me before, I can't remember the exact numbers, but how much weight can you lose on one of these hot nights? Because you've checked before, right?
Yeah, it's easy to lose like 8 to 10 pounds. And it's a lot of water weight. Like you drink water and eat food the next day, and you're back to about what you were before. But
That's a lot of fluid loss, though, is what
Yes,
is really what
yes.
you're getting at.
And especially 4 days in a row like that, it can be dangerous too.
Exactly.
Do you change the way y'all do engine heat at all? Is that like a thing when it's that hot out, or just
No.
kind of still a standard thing? That's why when they said engine heat was happening, I was so glad, Josh, we got out there quick, because I was like, it's about to get hot around here, as
Yeah.
if it's already hot. I was like, if we're near these engines during engine heat, I was like, oh gosh.
And I saw after the race on Friday night, I saw a couple different drivers, but there was one in particular, I won't name him. He was struggling, with his face looked about the same color as Blake's shirt, and saw mixing up some electrolyte packets and stuff like that. And that was after 3 nights, and, got another one left. And it's easy to forget about that. Like, you guys are out there and then going wire to wire 2 nights in a row in the feature. Like, that is a very, very demanding week.
Yeah, that's why I always say like the preparation for that comes 4 or 5 days ahead of time, especially if you're going to be having, I mean, I don't think the first 2 nights weren't super hot, were they? Just Friday and
Not
Saturday
over
was-
100.
yeah.
It was
Yeah.
still warm, but not into the hundreds.
But when you're racing 4 days like that, you're working your ass off, and you have 2 days that are over 100 degrees like that. You definitely got to think about it ahead of time, and maybe not drink so many beers after the
Yeah,
races.
I mean, you see guys getting IVs in Knoxville, like drivers,
Yep.
multiple drivers going to that IV stand. It's important.
Yeah.
Wild. The F-16 flyover was done by the South Dakota Air National Guard, recruiting 114th Fighter Wing. It was awesome. It was so cool. And nobody really knew where it was coming from. Everybody kept kind of looking and like, which way is it coming from? It was awesome. It was such a cool flyover. It was supposed to be 4. They only had 2, but it didn't really matter. Those things are so loud. The engines being down there, and I had earplugs in, like, that was loud. But I think the F-16s were louder. I mean, it was insane. Just such a cool thing that they were able to pull off. It was the first ever F-16 flyover for a sprint car event. It's awesome. I mean, everybody does something different for national anthems. I think what we do at Knoxville with Panda and JC Ball, I think is awesome. I love it. And that's just different. I mean, everybody does different things. We do the flags and everything on the sprint cars, but nothing beats a good flyover.
No, it was badass. That's what I put in the notes, and that's all I got to say. That shit was cool.
It was cool. They did recognize the pilots. The pilots came down, were on the front stretch, so that was really cool. All week long, Huset's did a great job honoring veterans and honoring people, first responders. They always do that thing where they have all those flags out on the front stretch. They have the firefighter flag with the red stripe. They have the police department flag with the blue stripe. And they always, I think every night Sean said something about a veteran or someone that was in service or used to be in service. And it was kind of an emotional part of the night. that's what Huset's did really well. I mean, it was emotional to hear those stories for those people, and there was a lot of people on the front stretch last night with the pilots. I think a lot of first responders. So big shout out to Huset's. That was a really cool part that they've always done well and very well put together. It was also announced pretty much. I got the inside scoop beforehand, but we didn't tweet it beforehand because we were like, well, we didn't want to spoil it. It was announced that the 2026 Huset's Hustle and High Bank Nationals will pay. Well, the Huset's Hustle will now pay $150,000 to win, and the High Bank Nationals will jump to $300,000 to win. It was already the biggest, highest paying race we see this ever. I mean, not ever. Obviously, we've had the million, but besides the million, 250,000 was the biggest. Cade, they've jumped out of the gun here, and Todd Quiring says, we're just going to keep pushing this. I mean, it is going to be our biggest event. We're going to push it to the max. It puts a lot of pressure on them. Got to put on good races, but the money's going to be there to try to get more people to come and race.
Yeah, for sure. And like we said a minute ago, like Buddy's just pumped to keep seeing these purses go up.
I think it makes it really interesting, especially, and Josh, maybe you'll think the same thing. Skagit was 100K this week, and that was a big topic. A couple guys went to Skagit. I mean, Brent Marks went to Skagit. Scott Boguski went to Skagit. Like a couple guys that you're like, Brent Marks was going to go to Huset's. And he said, I'm not going to Huset's. I'm going to go to that. And I think track surface, previous, that's another thing. You set bad precedents. I do worry that some guys are going to end this week or are looking at their calendar at the end of today on Sunday, and they're like, would we rather go out to Skagit? Like just because of track surface and whatnot. Again, you hope that's not the case for the Huset's gang, but Skagit put on a great week. We'll talk about Skagit later, but $300K to win, though. You almost can't say no. You got to at least try.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, and this is a little bit. I do always get a little kick out of everybody that's not a team owner or driver that get really up in arms about the pay, because it's like, I'm not getting any of that shit, so I don't really care. That's cool that you're going to put out that much money and that much money is being invested, but as a non-driver team owner, that don't really make that much of a difference to me. But shout out Scott Boguski, by the way. That Giddings team, they left the Midwest, went out west, and did a hell of a job. He had a great week, was going forward all week long, so wanted to make sure we called that out. But yeah, it's awesome. I will kind of push back on my own point there. It is cool seeing that much money getting put into sprint car racing, and that is how you attract more team owners to put up their own money to get guys on the road, or even if it's just local or regional guys that make that trip. That is cool. I'd like it to be a little maybe more skewed like Knoxville does it, to put that through the rest of the field to incentivize guys to come up, because it was like a $200,000 drop from first to second for this year. If you could spread that addition out throughout the rest of the field, like I said, you might incentivize some guys that if you know that you're going to get the equivalent of like an outlaw win to start, that's huge. And I think that would go a long way. Cade, you might even be able to illuminate that a little bit from coming from a team owner or driver perspective. That goes a long way.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel, I was just trying to look it up right now. The payback at Skagit, I feel like it's got to be a lot better throughout the field for people like Brent Marks, like you were saying, to go there over Huset's. That I feel like that's the only thing that really weighs into that decision, because obviously, like, if it didn't weigh into it, you would go for the one that you can make more money.
Right.
Right.
Well, and that's the other thing. Like, it might be a dumb question, but would you rather go to a track like Skagit that pays less but have a better track surface, or at least in your mind think you have a better track surface? Would you rather go to the track that has the more money but track surface might be iffy? I mean, that's when you're running a team on the road, it all boils down to where you can make more money at. Yes.
I mean, that's all that these guys are trying to do is make money.
And by no means throwing shade at Skagit or Huset's for the way that they lay the purse out. I did pull it up. It's $100,000 to win at Skagit, and then it drops to 40, 20, 12, and 8 for fifth. It's $3,000 to start, so it's not much more than what Huset. Well, no, it's actually less than what Huset's was paying to start. Yep. Like I said, get the additional money in there and just spread it throughout the rest of the field, because unless you're Buddy Kofoid and you're like, hell yeah, give me that extra $50,000 since I win all the time. Boost that up throughout the rest of the field.
I'm pretty sure Skagit wasn't originally $100K. I could have swore I thought I heard Blake Anderson say a couple times, like, somebody went in and donated, I think, a little bit more. It might have been $90,000 or $95,000, But somebody went in and donated to get it to 100K, which that's awesome. And we see that a bit. I mean, a lot of guys, whether that be for the full purse, or somebody will do like, hey, if you finish in this position, I'll give you $1,000, or if you lead this many laps or something like that. Sketch was doing that too,
look at the 360 shootout.
Yeah.
At Knoxville.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing pays all the way through the field too, which is cool to see.
Got a wheel spin for like an extra whatever it was, $1,000 or something crazy like that. Like that's cool.
Hard Chargers $2,000 this year.
That's
they're
so wild.
Dude, I'm telling you, like the 360 shootout this year, like it's getting better every year. It won't pass 360 Nationals, but it's like, dude, it's one of the best one-day shows that 360s have in the country.
Absolutely.
So it's awesome.
Before long, it'll be paying what the freaking front row challenge pays.
Yeah. I mean, before you know it. So you just never know. But we started the night out. We already talked about it. Unfortunately, hot laps. We got through hot laps, didn't we, Josh? Yes, we got through hot laps, and then the puddle showed up, and it just was really, really tough. So they went in and reworked the track for about 45 minutes. Got a little people antsy. They were just like, "Oh, come on."
It was the right call, though.
Yeah. The heat races just didn't work. The cushion was about 15 feet off the bottom. I mean, it was so weird to just see it build itself in. Everybody was in the same spot. You really couldn't try anything. Couple guys tried. Christopher Schramm tried the top to see if it worked, and he lost like all of his spots. So that was kind of disappointing to see that. And obviously, he's just trying. I mean, you got to try something. We just didn't see a ton. We talked to Chase Randall, and Chase was like, I'm glad I'm in the last heat race to at least see if it widens out. It never widened out. I mean, Chase luckily was in it, but just never really had a chance. So they reworked it, just kept reworking it. Ethan Gordon, who came down and chatted with us, the flagman for our 360s and Pro Sprints at Knoxville, he's like, this King of the Hill is going to be awesome, because he's like, we're going to see some fast laps. The fastest time put in that, we had an 11.2 last night. Kofoid set an 11.2. That was faster than the qualifying laps set on Thursday night or Friday, or whenever we did qualifying. It was like one of the fastest laps we've seen of the week, and it was in King of the Hill. Let's talk King of the Hill real quick, boys. Obviously, for those that didn't watch, top six in points or whatever, top six from the heat race winners, basically. They got to go to the King of the Hill. Sixth would face fifth. Fifth would place fourth. They go all the way down the line. So that first heat race between Balog and Schuhart, it was like whoever wins this race automatically will start on the front row. And it's just time. You do 2 laps and you go against each other's lap times. Sheldon Hodenshield beat Gravel's time after being out already once. So Sheldon jumped the spot. The crowd went insanely crazy. I've always been hit or miss on the King of the Hill, but I think after seeing it that close up, that important, I think I'm a full King of the Hill guy. Nothing against what we do at the Cappy where we race, but like, I don't know. I just really like the King of the Hill. What do you guys think?
I like it, but I'm used to the old school way of racing each other and not racing the clock.
Yeah.
But with this, like we've been saying, with the way the track was, honestly, I'm glad it was based off time. I feel like it would have been kind of a snooze fest, whoever gets to turn one first, if it was heads up, like racing each other. So I love the King of the Hill stuff, no matter what format, whether you race them or race a clock. It's cool. It's a lot better than watching a dash, I feel like, and it definitely spices things up.
Yeah, I don't mind a redraw. I don't mind a dash, but I love that style of King of the Hill.
Yeah.
Like, I think the Chili Bowl is probably the only thing that comes close to it when they're actually racing each other, because I mean, at Knoxville, the pole shuffle deal, I mean, Justin Henderson went on a heater one year, but other than that, it's like, especially now with
such an advantage.
Yeah, with,
he was talking about it. He's like, the
with
line
clean air
is
and
so
stuff.
far up. He's like, they can't, like, the guy gets out front, you ain't catching him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and I don't know what you can do about it there for like a track like Knoxville, but at a bull ring like Huset's, and especially on a track like that, yeah, I mean, you saw really close lap times. I think at one point, if it was maybe Garrett got like 0.003 of a second ahead of somebody.
0.003 of a second was behind Buddy. It was
and like you said, Blake, the anticipation, that's what I love the most about it. You don't get that really anywhere else in sprint car racing besides like qualifying. Yep. Like when it's heads up against, mano a mano, and you see that lap time post in the stands, you're like, oh man, is he going to get him? And then when, like you said, Sheldon did, crowd did go nuts. That's one of my favorite parts of that whole program, honestly.
And I've always thought about it, obviously, in a way, the guy who goes last has got to put a little bit of extra fuel in, because obviously your thought process is if we can go all the way. Because I think it happened a couple of years ago somewhere, like the guy ran out of fuel and the Outlaws were like, sorry. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just how it goes. That's why I thought for sure Balog was probably going to win it, because I was like, Bill can put in the least amount of fuel. That's what he did against Larson. And then Bill kind of ran the bottom. Like, it looked like Bill, I don't know if Bill wanted the pole. I think he was just trying stuff, and Buddy just was so fast. But yeah, it was awesome. And it kind of just puts into perspective, you know, Terry McCarl gets drunk one night and says, you know what, let's have him do a foot race at the Front Road Challenge. And that's kind of how it goes. Cade, how would you do in a foot race? You think you could do well in a foot race, Dash?
I feel like I could. I'd keep myself in pretty good shape. I don't know that I'd be the fastest one, but if I could make it through a couple of them and have to like battle some guys for endurance, I think I might be all right.
I hope. I love that, the Front Row Challenge. That's just a fun little special
That
thing.
whole event's just something else.
It's wild.
You got to make sure you're doing your stretching though. If you're in that foot race, we don't need anybody
For
blowing
sure.
hammies or anything before a freaking race.
It's always the young guys that start up front, the Front Row Challenge.
right.
Usually,
Yep.
if you're an older guy, like I worry, Brian Brown's getting up there. Brian Brown stays fit, but
Yeah, he dove. He was diving and flipping and stuff a couple years ago, right? It's like, Brian, you got to take care of yourself there, buddy.
Who was it a couple years ago lined up and he didn't even go? It's like, whatever. Just kind of one of those things, but it's awesome.
We need to see some dirty sliders there too.
Yeah, we have. Stick out
on
stick your
on
finger
foot, not in the race car. Keep those clean, but dirty sliders on foot. Let's do it.
Well, despite Kofoid starting on the pole, Balog took it from him early, and Bill was leading. And I think a lot of people were thinking, here we go. Like, it's deja vu. It was literally just deja vu from Thursday night. There was a restart. Brad obviously wrecked on the front straightaway. Really tough tumble for Brad Sweet. Was somehow the only car that got caught up in that.
And I think it was all he just got the fence, right? And then maybe hopped the tire.
Mm-hmm.
I worry about the flag stand more at Huset's than ever, because they get so high and it's like right there. Luckily it was kind of in the middle, but again, nobody hit him. Kind of a weird wreck. Like the top wing was still intact. Like it looked really weird. But yeah, good to see Brad walk out. But I think it was it was either him or when Macedo or Schoenberg slowed on the track. Balog got the jump, but the track started giddying up off of turn 2 and on into 3. So people were just bouncing, and Bill caught it at the wrong spot and just bounced up and down and lost the lead, and Buddy didn't look back. And he never had a chance in lap traffic. He kind of had a couple spots. Buddy was really stuck behind, I think, Brady Bacon. I want to say he was just stuck, and it just could not pass him. Then he finally got around him. And unfortunately, Kerry Madsen blows a right rear with 3 to go, and that sealed the deal because the cone went on the front straightaway.
Which that was big. He must have cut it on the wall or something, because it blew like most of that right sideboard off. That was, I didn't see or hear it, surprisingly, but it tore his car up a little bit.
But Buddy Kofoid goes on to win the Huset's High Bank Nationals, wins the Hustle, wins the High Bank Nationals. It's his second straight Huset's High Bank Nationals. Would have been third straight if that Roth engine did not explode just 2 years ago. And he was good even before in the Indy Race Parts 11, if you remember. I mean, he's been so good there at Huset's. And Bill looked disappointed for a second. I mean, I know he was happy, but he sure seemed like he was disappointed that he felt like he could have had it. And somebody had a great video of the end of Ford versus Ferrari this past or today in the scene where the one guy wins and the other guy's all disappointed, but he looks to the crowd and it's all the sprint car fans tipping their hat to Bill Balog. And Cade, we talked about it just earlier, but yes, Buddy won, but I think Bill was the talk of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's hard for Bill not to be a little bit disappointed if he feels like he had a shot, because that was, like you said, Josh, $200,000 that he didn't get to take to the bank.
And I was just going to look up real quick because I had those numbers. Yeah, it was 75 grand difference and 200 from first to second on both of those nights when he finished second. And
jeez,
it's tough that's probably going to be tough to swallow right out of the gate. But man, when you see those checks hit the bank, especially for a team where he owns it, does a whole bunch of stuff. It's we've already covered it, but yeah, it was a big week and nothing at all to hang your head about if you're Bill.
I got to give a shout out. Sheldon Hodenshield he's had a decent season, but I don't think he's winning enough what he wants to be winning. His big night was when he went from 15th to 5th. And then it was like, okay, now he's got something figured out. Sheldon finishes third. The track just never got to what Sheldon needed. And I think it was still impressive that he finished third, because the track like it was last night, that's not really a Sheldon track. But if it would have gotten wide and stuff like he wanted a couple years ago, I think things would have been a lot different. But a good run for Sheldon. Garrett Williamson, I just want to touch on it. What a week. I mean, he has that one issue, the one night where he did get in the wall. Garrett couldn't get off. Garrett couldn't get off the wall this week, and I gave him. I joked about it with him when we were chatting with him earlier. But what a week for Garrett, man. I mean, like, I wish the points were full because I feel like the Rookie of the Year battle would be quite separated because Chris has struggled the last couple weeks, but it's just so happened they're at events that it's just show up points. So Garrett, I think, is unfortunately still trailing, but much needed week for Garrett and proves that he can just keep rolling here.
Especially after struggling at Knoxville a little bit, which was a little uncharacteristic for that team. They had a really good run a few years ago, and they've kind of struggled since then. So, he was in great spirits after the race last night, and very well deserved for that also. And that is one thing, and I mentioned this to you, I think over the weekend, Blake. It is interesting because High Limit, like most of their big shows, are full point shows. Like when they go, when they did the 100 grand to win race a few weeks ago, those are full point shows for them. And
why not force them to be good? Because Chris Wyndham, yes, while not running well, they can say, "Oh well." I mean,
exactly.
We didn't run great, but we still got points. It's not like we're losing points. So,
and I get it. Like Blake, or not Blake, Johnny talks about it. You kind of go out there and not worry about racing for points. But I think that it's another added dimension of it.
Yeah, for sure. It was really cool to see the small guys have a good week though with Balog and Garrett. That was good shit.
Yep.
I think it's great because they, first of all, I thought it was kind of like a stab at him. So on Wednesday, the World of Outlaws puts out this bingo card, and they're like, "Here's your bingo card for this week at Huset." And at the bottom corner of the bingo card, it says Garrett Williamson to make the feature. First off, like, come on, but they spelled his first name wrong. They put 2 T's in it, and Garrett's like, "I don't know who Garrett Williamson is." He was like, so that was kind of a good, like, okay, man, like, he's here. I mean, you don't have to give him that.
1 R, 1 T. You know that now.
Yeah, yep. 1 T. Now they got it, but that was just kind of.
I'm glad you said that because I saw Garrett's reply, but the original post had already been deleted, so I didn't see that it was the bingo card.
I was wondering if they deleted it, but
they did pretty quickly.
Logan Schuhart goes 13 to 5th. Again, unfortunately, it didn't sound like they showed much of the back half of the field that was moving forward, but Logan much improved this week. I'll go over our picks here because Logan was one of Josh's picks, but much improved week for Logan Schuhart. And I think Ashton Torgerson ran pretty decent this week, all things considering that 1A. So I think it was probably hurting the 1S team saying, dang, why are we not there? I mean, I don't know. That'll get to you.
Yeah, and I'd have to go back and double check it myself, but Ashton may have made. I think he did. I think he made every feature.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he made every feature, which is
awesome. Talk about bingo cards. I don't think you would have put on your bingo card that Ashton was going to make every feature. Rico would miss at least 2, and you had a few different locals that made the feature
Brian
over
Brown
guys like Rico
every night.
Yeah,
nothing against Brownie. I did not have Brian Brown making the feature.
No, there was definitely just some surprises, and like people that you saw in the C main and stuff like that, and again track state, yada yada yada. But yeah, it was interesting.
Anthony Macri goes 20th to 11th. Not a bad week for Anthony. I know he probably wanted better because this is kind of his style of track, but still went forward. Thorson went 21 to 11. Donnie Schatz did Donnie Schatz things, went 23 to 14. So a lot of guys made a lot of headway last night. And it was a fun week. Fun week. Obviously, Saturday night left a lot to be desired a couple times, but still really cool. Awesome event. The Outlaws will head off to Cedar Lake now. They have 4th of July weekend off. They're all going to be in Knoxville, which is awesome. But it sounds like most of them are coming to Knoxville. But enjoy Cedar Lake. You're going to get the best fireworks show you've ever seen at Cedar Lake.
That's a place I need to get to.
Yeah, Garrett was pretty excited for it.
We did, yeah. We talked to Garrett quite a few times. If you couldn't tell, this weekend, he said he's never been, so he said he's looking forward to that. I told him to make sure you get on iRacing, get some practice.
Said it's fun on the video games.
Yeah.
I won our picks this week. Sorry, boys. I literally told y'all. Last week after we made the picks. I said I won. Let's run through them just because I think it's interesting to see where some of these guys finished.
If my main pick would have showed up every night, it would have been a different story.
Been a different story, but. So Josh picked Gravel, who went 4th, and 6th. I just want to touch on David Gravel here. No podium's kind of crazy. I don't know.
Quiet week.
Yeah, that's wild.
Real quiet week for him.
Quiet. Yeah, what's up with that? Come on, David. 3/4 and a 6. What is wrong with you? I mean, I know they wanted more. I mean, you got Billy and Otto on the car. This is a big week. Your shop's literally up the hill. Just weird. I mean, just kind of a different kind of night. Kind of went backwards on Saturday night. Granted, track service was one thing, but quiet. A quiet top 10 week.
Not bad by any means,
No.
but yeah, just it was quiet. I think is the best way to put it.
You want to know how top 10 streaks keep going for him? This is why. Like, he doesn't do anything wrong. It's just he's just driving, just kind of chilling out.
Probably disappointed leaving the weekend. And
absolutely.
Left the top 5 once.
Logan Schuchart, first 2 nights, bad. 10th in the B in Wednesday, 8th in the B on Thursday for Josh. But then rebounds was 6th and 5th. That's, I think, the best rebound we saw all week, truly. So good for Logan. And then Ryan Timms, 6th in the B on for the first night. They looked themselves in the mirror, said, all right, let's get better. And he comes back with a 16th and 8th and a 7th. Cade, he was rolling there for the first 2 nights. Kyle Larson went 1st and 3rd and then did not start the other 2 nights. Rico, probably the toughest pick of the week, unfortunately for Cade. 11th in the B on Wednesday, 10th in the feature on Thursday, 7th in the B on Friday, 8th in the B on Saturday. Just couldn't get anything rolling. And then Macedo, I mean, if it wasn't for last night when he broke a 16th, a 12th, a 14th, a 24th, again, it's not top 10 speed, but they're
he was
getting
runner-up last year.
Yeah. I mean, almost won it if he was able to complete that slider there in turn 4.
He was one. We haven't talked about him. That was one of my more surprising things outside of Rico. I forgot to mention.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because that track kind of suits what you would kind of think of a Carson Macedo style track, and they just didn't have it. And I don't know.
And apparently, you guys should put Kyle Larson on your surprise list because you guys gave me all kinds of shit for picking him.
Well, because he'd only won there twice, and he had even said that he had not had great luck at Huset. But when he went quick time on Wednesday, I literally was like, "Oh no, Cade's getting all that, and he's going to do that." I was rooting for Macri hard last night because if when he made the feature, I was like, none of my guys ever missed the features this week. I was very happy about that. So my picks, I had Kofoid. He finished 3rd, 1st, 2nd, and 1st. I mean, that's unbelievable. Macri 6th, 9th, 21st, 11th, and then Hodenshield went 17th, 15th, 5th, 3rd. So he got better as the week went on. It's fun. Obviously, we only do these for like the big shows. We'll do them again for nationals. But yeah, fun doing that. And before we jump into our outside of Knoxville recap, we had a question. We had a question for Cade. Our first ever. Is this our first ever question for Cade?
I think it is.
Cindy chimed in and on our YouTube comments last week. This is kind of coming off the Brian Brown and Aaron Reitzel thing. So this was for Cade. Cade, when you wreck but are okay, how do you feel when a mic is shoved in your face for an interview immediately after you wreck?
It is probably in my list of top 3 most annoying things in the world. Like you just, I know, but the guy just junked his shit. Like I own my own stuff. Like I tore up a bunch of my own money, and you stick a microphone in my face and expect me not to say some stupid shit. Like I'm definitely gonna say stupid things and probably regret why I even let you put a microphone in my face.
Now, I have Josh. I'll let you go in a second. I have 2 sides that I see it from. What Tony Laporta did at Port Royal with Zach Hampton, probably not the best. Like that guy was not okay. Zach Hampton was really struggling. It was a really bad flip, and I think sometimes the reporter also has to kind of, yes, it's his job to see, talk to him, but sometimes the driver will say, yeah, let's talk. He probably shouldn't be talking. It's not a good look. On the other side, sometimes we get wrecks that we don't see a replay of, so sometimes we kind of really want to know what happens. So that's why a lot of times when I would always talk to somebody, I'd be like, first of all, are you okay? And then second of all, it's like, what did happen? Because we didn't see it. So, and then most of the time they're like, well, I haven't seen a replay, but, but yeah, I think it's a per situation basis, wouldn't you say?
I would, and of course, you mean no shade to TLP by any means.
No, not at all.
Because you've been in that position, like you said. And,
I have.
I have personally seen where there is discretion, where you can tell, like a guy's shaken up. I'm not going to talk to him right now because it's not the best time, and because I also see it from both sides as well, because from a media perspective, like it's your job to get those stories, get those comments and stuff, and you drivers have fans, friends, and family that might be watching, and it is good to see them that they can talk and that they're okay afterwards. But I also hear you, Kate, and that probably is not. I mean, shit, we've seen it with Kyle Busch over the years in NASCAR that it's not always. I mean, it could be great for the entertainment value and the content, but it may not always end up reflecting very well on the driver either.
Yeah, and a lot of it, like Blake, you were talking about people not seeing a replay. Like I've said some stupid shit before where like I blame somebody else and then I watch the replay and I'm like, dude, I drove clear through that guy. Like that was all my fault.
And we saw it earlier this year. It wasn't a mic, but it was when Kerry was really upset with Sawyer Phillips after his incident with Carson McCarl. And I think we heard through the grapevine or something that they ended up being cool because like he went back and saw that it was definitely not Sawyer that had anything to do with it, and he was trying to miss him. But yeah, I mean, stuff happens. Nope, I don't think anybody has ever been out there being malicious about trying to get gotchas. And at the end of the day, everybody involved wants to make sure that the driver's okay first and foremost, because that's what's most important.
I don't know a single reporter that doesn't ask the driver, always ask the driver, do you want to talk? I don't know a single reporter who has just gone up to somebody after a wreck and be like, talk. Almost everybody I know is like, do you want to talk? Like, do you want to chat?
Attest.
And if they say no, cool. Don't ask them again. I mean, like, they were obviously, they're ticked off and whatnot, but yeah, it's common courtesy. But when y'all do talk, Cade, we like it. I mean, it's like, unfortunately, yes, if you're like Brown was and you're like, I probably shouldn't have talked, but I like it. I mean, you just want to hear their thoughts. And sometimes the guy's a good sport about it. And sometimes it's like, no, I got wrecked, blah, blah, blah. But great question. Great question from YouTube. Again, if you want to submit something, throw it in the YouTube comments. It's awesome. So
I feel like that's a good one that we can ask like every guest that we have on too.
I think
like,
so.
I bet you get some pretty
answer.
Yeah, you'll get mixed reviews for sure.
Absolutely.
If and when we get Reitzel, I would love to hear.
I was just about to say, I'd love to hear Aaron's comments. We had a lot go on outside of Knoxville. I threw a couple other extra ones because we had some winning Knoxville guys here this past week, just across here the Midwest. We'll start out with the big upset this week. I think because it happened at 12:30 at night, most people just kind of glossed over it. But Levi Klatt won his first career 410 race in just the dude's 16th career start at night one of the Skagit Dirt Cup. The way the Dirt Cup thing works, I think the invert was 16, and he started on the pole, so he was the 16th guy, caught the invert. I mean, that's just racing. But was more impressive, he got passed by Justin Peck, and then he passed him right back. Like, Justin Peck probably could have just gotten away, but Levi Klatt goes right back around him. And what a good summer we've had. What a month of June. I mean, Travis Aarons goes out and upsets the boys up in Wisconsin, and then Levi Klatt. Competitive racing is everywhere. But the fact that these guys can go out, especially in his 16th career start, I mean, this is awesome. Heck of a story for Levi Klatt. He was sipping maple syrup when he got out of the car.
Chugging syrup in the...
disgusting, but it was.
I didn't know what that was.
Yeah, maple syrup on the wing dance. You love to see. We need Bill Balog to do that.
Yeah.
If and when we get to talk to him, we need to talk about that little Anderson maple syrup chugging.
I was just about to say that dude's a savage for just downing that whiskey, but it was syrup.
Somebody had a great picture. The fireworks were off like right in the. It was an unreal picture. He's got him and his maple syrup up and everything else. It was awesome. I mean, he nailed the restart. What do you think, Kate, of the restarts on the backstretch at Skagit? Obviously, Knoxville kind of used to do it. You like that?
I don't know. It's interesting. I'd have to actually race there and try it once to see. I mean, it's kind of cool that you get like a short entry into turn 3 to kind of shake it up a little bit.
What you want to do, yeah.
Yeah, and it definitely makes it like guys can get a bigger run than if you were starting coming off turn 4, I guess. And it's not really all about the drag race, I don't feel like.
Absolutely. Trey Starks went on and won. Well, Justin Sanders won night 2. Don't want to gloss over that. Justin Sanders he's unreal. I mean, I wish he would go on a touring series because he is just so fun to watch. If you get a chance, watch California dirt races because Justin Sanders is always up there in that 2X. Trey Starks gets away with the win. Trey Starks he is winning a lot of big races, and it's quiet, but he is winning huge races out west. He wins Dirt Cup over Tanner Holmes. He had a party. I mean, they burned that place down for Trey Starks. Josh, it was a great win. You and I watched it. Was methodical. I mean, I got to give, first off, huge shout out to Tanner Holmes. That kid has been everywhere this year. He was in the Tarleton 21, won a race. He's been up and down 8 races in 11 days. I think he's wrecked his own car like twice, and they're not even his faults. Like, he's just getting caught up in wrecks. That thing's got speed, man. I'm excited for when he comes here for the Nationals because it'll be in that 18T car. But Trey Starks, man, just unreal.
Yeah, I mean, his results speak for himself. You know, he was good, like you said, methodical, and he ran a great race. And I also was going to I wanted to talk about Tanner. Also, like, it's no fluke why he was put into that Tarleton 21 car. The dude is quickly becoming one of the best drivers, 410 drivers. I want to clarify, out on the West Coast, like that they needed that good run in the 18T also because of those. I mean, a couple of the crashes he got caught up in were like the same exact looking thing where he just had nowhere to go when somebody else was crashing. And I know that he's probably really, really bummed out,
He was.
you know, finishing second, but yeah, great week all around for him because he was hauling ass moving forward from deep every single night.
Yeah, I think the crowd reaction for Starks was probably like one of the coolest things that I've ever seen in my life. Like when he pulled back into his pit area and there's like 150 people standing around there, and Dominic Selzy's like giving him a big old hug. That was super cool stuff to see. And yeah, he's not like a touring driver by any means, and that's a huge win for him. Cool to see.
And again, I was just thinking about it. Yes, Justin Sanders won the Friday portion. He won it. I blanked and then I got back to it. Won it on a last lap pass. James McFadden led most of the race, and then James went low to defend the line in 3 and 4, and then Justin just ripped around the top. Just quickly touching on James McFadden again, we talked about it last week. He's been on fire with that Tarleton 21. I think he got upside down twice though on Thursday night, but recovered well. Good to see the 21 back. I'm excited to see him back at Knoxville. So yeah, just a quick shout out to James McFadden there. JJ Hickle went out and won the Sprint Invaders race on Friday night at Scotland County Speedway in Missouri. Jamie Ball, he even said himself, he got up off the porch, went down to Sprint Invaders, so a rare Sprint Invaders appearance for Jamie, at least in the last couple years. Jamie led most of the way, and then something broke in the car, and JJ snuck around for the win. JJ didn't want to win like that, but we know JJ. That's a good win. And that car, I mean, he's run a couple times for 360s here at Knoxville. Just great to see JJ in victory lane.
Yeah, and it all pays the same no matter how you win it.
Yeah,
That's right.
Doesn't matter.
And that's all his own stuff, and like his own. I think he even calls it his own little team that he's trying to build up, and you'll love to see it. JJ's a great dude, and yeah, you love to see success like that. Tough break for Jamie. I think he said the rear end broke with like a lap or lap and a half left, so that sucks. Like he would say, I think that's just racing, and I think he's even competing tonight as we record this. Yep. So I'll have to see how that shakes out.
They got heated/rained out. They were supposed to be at Burlington last night on Saturday night. Unfortunately, got heated out. A couple other local guys. Brett Moffitt went out and won the Sprint Kings feature at Boone Speedway. That's awesome. 5 starts. I think 5 starts, 2 wins for Brett Moffitt in a pro sprint.
I thought our guy Cade was maybe going to get in that field and give him a run for his money, but the lake was calling instead, I guess.
That's awesome for Brett because, I mean, that car, it's his third ever race in his own car. So that's cool. And obviously, it was struggling the first 2 weeks at Knoxville, just kind of trying to shake it down. Boone is a different animal than Knoxville, but you give it, I don't know how much longer Brett's going to be in a pro sprint. He's going to be in a 360 before you know it.
Yeah, and Boone's a pretty technical racetrack. I raced there 2019, I think, was the year that I raced there. It's a tough track to get around and get around well. I didn't see any footage from it to like tell you what the track was like, but it's typically a really dry and abrasive track. So it's crazy that he goes out there and wins that. And another Knoxville guy, Tyler Thompson, was there, and back when I raced there, he used to kick all of our asses all the time. So I was very shocked to not see him win. But yeah, super cool to see Brett win again and not at Knoxville. Like I know how tough Boone is, and that's cool to see him win.
I don't know. Or go ahead, Josh.
Oh, I was just going to say, I don't keep up with the IMCA stuff all that much, modifieds and whatnot. But I'd be shocked if he doesn't have quite a few laps around that place.
Yeah.
From the modified days. So a little bit different in the sprint car, but yeah, I'm sure he was pretty experienced around that place.
I didn't throw it in here, but Jeff Wilkie also won somewhere.
Yeah, he did.
Weekend. Yeah, I don't know where, but Jeff Wilkie also won. It's just a great week.
It's a great week for Team Knoxville.
Yeah, it's awesome. Then Kelby Watt went out and won his first ever 410 race at Plymouth. I think he set quick time, just kind of stayed out front all race, so good for Kelby. IRA, man, we know how tough IRA is. The IRA is no joke, so good win for Kelby Watt. I didn't put it in here, but did y'all see that wreck in the Hawkeye Challenge, the sprint car?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
No.
So
it was bad.
Obviously, it was one of those races where it's like all the different dirt classes.
Oh, yeah.
You had modifieds, and I think the only the sprint car in the field, he tried this insane slider going into turn one, and he missed so bad. And
Yeah, he hit the modified in the left front.
Oh, he wrecked
Oh,
so
no.
bad. It was like, come on, man, what are you doing?
There's also an off-road truck race that I think it was today. It was an insane finish. They got people monster trucking over each other for the win and getting stuck, and then they got unstuck, and then he ran up over the guy again. It was crazy.
What a week for dirt
Check
racing.
Twitter. Yeah, that was hell.
What a week for dirt racing. Unbelievable. So we didn't think we could go that long, but we went an hour and 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
We do not have an interview this week. Again, Josh kind of mentioned it at the beginning. The heat and stuff, drivers were just trying to get out of there. We'll be back next week with an interview for sure. And we got Farm Bureau night next Saturday, June 28th. Hoping to run the whole month of June fine here without weather. It's going to rain a lot this week, so we'll see what that does to the track surface. But excited to get back to Knoxville. Week feels long. You just kind of miss it getting back there. And also worth noting before Josh closes us out, the Knoxville Nationals dates came out for next year. Everything got moved back a week. So now we don't run the first week of August. We run the second week of August. I assume it's because of NASCAR, because obviously we're competing with NASCAR in the 360 Nationals, and obviously their race is on Capitani Classic night. So we move back. I will be curious, boys, what that does for the schedule. Do you guys think, I don't know anything, do you think we start later?
We'll find out.
Hard to say.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I assume the Outlaws will want to keep their April date. Maybe we just do that 1 week April date, and then we don't race the rest of the month. I don't know.
I wouldn't hate it if we ran later into the year also.
That's what I'm thinking.
That'd be nice.
Like start at the same time and give us a couple extra weeks after Nationals. That'd be kind of fun.
I'd go for it. But
Yeah.
excited to be back at the track. Farm Bureau Financial Services night next Saturday, and we'll be back rolling. Josh, take us out.
Yeah, we didn't tease it again. We like announcements of announcements. We have some massive news that is coming soon. We can't spill the beans quite yet, but it is.
I want to
huge.
think it'll be this week. I think we can spill it this week, but
Yeah,
stay
so
tuned. It's going to be awesome.
Make sure you're following at Knoxville Nights on Instagram, Facebook, Knoxville Nights with no O on X, because we will definitely be blowing it up. If you want to follow Blake, Cade, or myself, I'm at Josh_Gerlach, Cade's at Cade Higday, and Blake's at Blake_Walker8. I do. We've talked with Cam. Cam Martin just won his first race at Knoxville a couple weeks ago now, and Tyler Gronendijk also. I think I'd like to try to get one of those two. We'll try to get both of them at some point this year, but thinking we should probably be able to get them for our next show. We'll announce our guests as soon as we can get them booked. And otherwise, like Blake said, we'll see you at the track on Saturday, June 28th. Appreciate you guys listening. Take care.